Welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
And I'm your guest, Gabe.
And I'm your other guest, Jeff.
And I'm your co-host, Austin.
And I'm your other co-host, Ian.
We have a full party today.
We do.
A full adventuring party.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
DM and 4 people.
Yeah. Who's DMing? Because I'm tired of getting stuck with it.
Austin can do it.
I guess I can do it. It's not that big of a deal, I guess.
Though our boy...
Oh, wait, shoot. Who's the healer?
Oh, you know what? I can do that. Do you know why?
Why is
Because
that?
I'll play a healer that heals best by not healing and just blowing stuff up. So I got you back. I got you.
That is legit tragic.
That's called DPS. There's a word for that.
But if they're not allowed to hurt you, that's better than heals,
That's
right?
healing through preventing damage
Yeah,
being done
preventative
in the first place.
healing.
Yeah.
That's a thing now.
Yep.
Anyways, this podcast was created to provide you, our heroes, with new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure.
Our show may not be suitable for young children, but neither is our D&D games.
It was pretty bad last time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys really got kicked in the dice while they were down. I'm a big fan. Anybody listening to the show knows I'm a big fan of hard encounters, and I've been throwing them after them.
We definitely had a harder one this time around.
But we rose to the occasion.
Yeah, you guys did. You
Well,
guys really did.
2 of us did.
What's funny though is
Which two?
you guys always end up getting really low or even out of all your resources. Would you agree?
Yep.
Oh no, I'm completely empty every time, yeah.
Like a gas tank.
I'm just like, alright.
I actually was empty for once.
I was 100%
That's
empty.
fine.
I had nothing to go on.
So I am really excited for today's episode. As you can tell, we've got some amazing guests, Gabe and Jeff from Interparty Conflict. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Yeah, of
Glad
course.
to be here.
Yeah.
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 Good God.
Thanks for having us.
If you're watching this episode and joining us for the first time, if you've not checked out Gabe and Jeff's Interparty Conflict podcast, I absolutely love it. It's one of the ones that I always try to make sure that I listen to whenever I get a chance. And there's a lot of podcasts out there. I can't recommend these guys enough. You guys do such an amazing job and are even more professional than us.
That's not a high bar.
Thank you very much.
That's true. That's not a high bar.
Oh, good.
They were watching us
That's all
do the
Gabe's
setup.
prep work, really.
Right.
I was like, they were watching us do the setup. I'm pretty sure they're like, man, these guys.
They suck. But thank
I'm
you
glad they
guys.
I'm
like
sipping-
us, but
Sipping my wine.
It's like peasants.
I have a framed picture of Gabe on my desk, and I was just kind of like looking at it fondly. I was like, oh, he does so much better than them.
Hang on a second. Do you actually?
it's
I don't know,
great.
Gabe. I guess you'll just have to wait till the end of the pandemic to come check on
Yeah.
him.
No,
guess so.
Gabe's gonna be going to sleep one day, and then there's gonna a text that's gonna wake him up, and it's gonna be a picture of Jeff staying up late with a picture that he took of his desk of Gabe there, thinking of you. So today's episode, we're gonna be talking about metagaming. It has been a year of Ian saying he wanted to talk about this, but honestly, I told him he could put the show notes together, and so finally,
So
a
I
year
did.
later, here we are. So we decided he actually reached out to you guys because he thought this would be something you guys could really touch on and would be great to have more input on. So we're really excited for that.
Yeah, I definitely thought the format would be best as a roundtable discussion for this topic.
I agree.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not a rectangle table? Why does it got to be round?
Because we have 5 people. And
But I
a
can't be the head of the table if it's round.
Exactly. You're not the head of the table this time. We have guests. They're the head of the table.
We all know what
It
Jeff.
could be like a donut table, and you can be in the middle.
Be in the
and all this-
middle. I get a swivel chair and just turn around when people talk.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
like
that's
the
funny.
the desk from Parks and Rec that Ron Swanson really hated.
You'd be
Oh my
dizzy so
gosh.
fast.
All right, so in this episode, there's a few other things I am excited to talk about. I love the encounters, the honor tips and tricks. I think all except for one were brought by Gabe, so he was very awesome at keeping it very thematic with the metagaming thing. So I'm really excited for those.
I like to
Gabe's
do
great
that.
at keeping themes.
I loved it. But before we get into that, a little bit of house cleaning. If you enjoy the show and you want to support us, head on over to critacademy.com. Check out our Patreon page. Maybe pick up one of our amazing best-selling D&D supplements. And I'm not saying they're amazing. That's just quotes directly from the reviews. So it's not my words;
Mhm.
it's somebody else's.
those are
which
facts.
I'll say
people.
it. They're amazing.
Hey,
I
there-
appreciate
Gabe,
that.
we got a
Count,
guy
you
on
helped
here.
make
All
some
right.
of them.
You heard it here live. Well, live
Uh,
for us, maybe not live in the future, but live enough.
If you're listening to this into the future, they are now doubly amazing. Anyways,
wow.
so you can pick some of
That'd
that
be
up.
impressive.
Subscribe to our newsletter to be entered to win. Every single week we give away fat loots. So I'm really excited to hopefully you'll join us, and we'll be excited to have you. What?
Yeah.
It still says to send in the Everness.
Well, too bad.
We're past the point of caring right
Yeah,
now.
I don't care now. So thank you for joining us today here at Career Academy Studios, where everything's made up and your roles don't matter.
Yep, that's right. Your roles are like an adventuring party without inter-party conflict.
Gabe, it's actually intra-party conflict. I'm
Oh,
told.
so now he
You
pulls
can
out that
shut your
card.
mouth, Justin.
Just talking about Shaft.
You know, in this adventuring party, you're not the DM, so
That's true.
get fucked, idiot.
Whoa, dick.
Prepare for
Oh,
some
man.
lightning.
Lightning, lasers from your eyes and lightnings from your ass. All right. So before we get into our main topic, we always have our Let's Talk About Blank segment. I love this thing. Sometimes we answer questions. Lately, I've been covering more of the kind of newsworthy stuff.
Yeah,
Now, has anybody in here ever played Baldur's Gate, the video games?
of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not me.
I mean, I played Dark Alliance, but I mean,
Gabe,
it's
minus
kinda,
minus 10. I was streaming Dark
I'll
Alliance.
I'll
Dark
play
Alliance.
number 3. I haven't played any others, but I'll play number 3 when it comes out.
Yeah, I already got my.
very different.
I took a day off work for this.
Good.
Yeah. So you played Dark Alliance. I did stream that, and I forgot how fun it is.
Dark
Yeah.
Alliance is a surprisingly good game that didn't age terribly.
Right.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun when I played it.
Yeah.
I've been on the hunt for a copy of it for a long time.
Definitely hard to
Roms.
come by.
I have
Sorry,
them.
got something in my throat. You really do?
Yeah. I had to pay a
You're
lot on
just
eBay
sitting
to
on-
get them.
I was gonna say you're probably sitting on a wealth there, like a small fortune.
I paid a lot on eBay to get them.
Anyway, so as we've talked about on the show before, Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out. It's going to be built by Larian Studios, who did the Divinity Original Sin games. If you've not checked those out, they're amazing. Do it.
Also
But
very good games, yeah.
they announced something big about the newest Baldur's Gate game that they're doing that I don't think anybody else has ever done. They are launching with integration into Twitch so the audience can vote on the actions.
Huh.
I
That's
mean,
really cool.
Twitch integration is not new, but yes, it is.
There's other games that
it's-
let the audience pick
yes,
it.
yes. there
Oh,
is.
well, it's new to me then.
But it is it is one of the very few like
That actually does that.
yeah. I mean, I can only name like 2 games off the top of my head that even have it.
And now anybody that's played, go ahead.
I was gonna say there are some smaller games that are like more built for
Right.
like Twitch streamers and stuff like that. They are more interactive and they allow for like bigger audience to play along and things like that.
But this is like yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
I was but like bigger games, like bigger like AAA titles, like
Yeah.
typically don't have integration like this. There was Baldur's Gate. No, I'm sorry. Borderlands starts with a B. Borderlands 3 had Twitch integration and
I did not
to
know
a
that.
point where like certain things that the streamer did would allow the viewers to like get that same loot or something. Like so, if something-
Interesting.
if some loot dropped, if you were watching that person, you can like get a code to get that same piece of loot or something
All
like
right.
that.
So
And Merc Cry in chat says Choice Chamber, Dead Cells, and a few other games.
Yep, Dead Cells is a big one.
well, y'all just stomping out my excitement here, but the point is,
But yes, this is a AAA title
this is
that
cool.
is yeah.
and Baldur's Gate is such a big game that's based on the actions and the choices you make, and how it unfolds depends on which choices you make. So if you're letting the audience drive that decision, none of you are going to know how it's going to end
Yeah.
at all.
This is Twitch plays Pokemon, but it's Twitch plays D&D. So
Yeah.
like,
Oh man.
I remember being a part of one of those streams. That was awful.
it was
Yeah.
I remember watching
awful.
Twitch plays Dark Souls even.
Oh my goodness.
That sounds
Well,
awful too.
okay. The problem with Twitch Plays Dark Souls is that obviously it's unplayable.
Yeah.
So after a certain point, they made it so that like the game would pause every few seconds and then it would choose what was going to happen.
Yep.
And if I'm not mistaken, they gave extra weight to the votes of specific people. So like if a famous Dark Souls YouTuber came on, they would get more say in what happened. And so, in my opinion, it kind of went against the spirit
Eat
of
the
what
rich.
Twitch
Yeah.
plays, whatever it's supposed to be.
Which is why
Yeah.
like Twitch Plays Pokemon was so chaotic.
Yeah.
I like the ones where it's the goldfish, where it's like there's a goldfish in a tank, and like different areas of the tank are different buttons. And so, like, if a goldfish swims to the top right corner, you like the character goes to the right. You know,
So-
That's hilarious.
What the hell?
That's awesome.
So, anyways, I'm really excited for this because this is something I've tried to do in the few streams that I have done is get the audience engaged. I am planning to stream when this releases on the 30th at 10 p.m. Pacific, I think. So you can
now
bet
is this the beta that is released?
early
that is coming out?
access.
Wait, 10
Early
p.m.
access?
Yeah. Specific?
Pacific, not specific.
I
Don't worry,
can't
I
talk.
got you. I got you. I got you, baby bird. I'll feed
But I
you.
need
So
to
that's
know
like-
the specific time.
So that's
though,
what?
so-
1 a.m. Eastern?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
It's like I think the 3 hours behind.
Yeah.
It depends on if
I don't
daylight saving time is
Anyway,
affected.
so I'll be streaming this. I want you all to come join me. I'm super excited for this. If you haven't checked it out, I even started practicing. I played the demo of Celesta. If you've not checked that out, it's another game similar to Baldur's Gate that was built on the 5th edition rule set. And honestly, I had a lot of fun playing through. I was sad that it ended after an hour, though, because I wanted more. It was so good. And what's so amazing is all the stuff that I knew from the mechanics of the game, almost everything that I expected to be there was. And that gives me high hopes because that was like a Kickstarted project, I think, compared to Larian Studios, who has a big budget and group.
And Alicia's very adamant, like, it's 10 a.m., not p.m.
Oh, son of a whatever. Obviously. 10 a.m. Pacific. So anyways,
Pacific.
I'm super excited about this. What's really cool, Gabe, you said you're going to get this. Let me know when you do because this does include multiplayer, to
Yeah,
my
it does.
understanding. And groups of your adventuring party going on adventures. What I did think was cool as well is when other party members just walk up into the conversation, they can then throw in their own 2 cents on what the choice should be. So if Gabe's character starts talking to somebody and Ian walks over and decides, I want you to pick this one. Now you don't have to, but it kind of lets everyone kind of
That's
show what they
interesting.
want to do, which I think is really, really cool. So I know I spent way too much time on this. Obviously, I'm super giddy for this game.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Like,
Yeah, I
it hasn't
mean-
been a Baldur's Gate game in a long time,
No,
and
and-
Original Sin 2 was like really good.
And so
That was a while ago too.
my dice are like trembling, and I just cannot wait. So, anyways, definitely check that out. You can head over to critacademy.com. There's a link to the screen post that has all the details. So,
Yeah.
I think that'll do it for our Let's Talk About Blank segment. Gabe, would you like to tell, or Jeff, we'll have Jeff go. Jeff, would you like to tell everyone about our amazing Fat Loots giveaway we got going on here?
Sure. Well, it's not italicized, so I don't know what to write.
Oh, don't worry, baby bird. I'll feed you. Boom, there it is.
All right.
It's all I
The
tell.
giveaway. Well, the giveaway today is Lore Smith, which is a modular a dungeon tile set. So modular dungeon tiles are an easy way to create your own beautiful digital maps. The Arcania.
Yep.
The Arcania lets you make dark, shadowy dungeon map. Sorry.
He does it every time. Don't worry.
What'd I do? Oh, did I block it? I'm sorry.
No.
Oh.
There was a missing S. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
I threw you off.
The Arcania lets you make a dark, shadowy dungeon map, rich with feet. I'm sorry, the italicized is throwing me off now too.
That'll
It's
happen.
Hold on,
okay.
let me-
Seth will clean it up.
My eyes are not what they used to be. I'm gonna zoom in here. There we go. Much better. Sorry.
You're good.
6 more words.
So the Arcania lets you make dark, shadowy dungeon maps rich with fumes of arcane secrets.
Let's get fumes.
Smell those.
It's not a
secrets.
fucking drug, dude. Like, oh yeah,
How do you
spell
know?
slots. I guess it could be.
I was gonna
How do
say
you
no.
know?
Hold on.
Gabe, who's our winner today?
Today's winner is D. Mackey.
Woo! Yeah. Do, 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 do. Okay.
Now, is it D Mackey or DeMackey?
I was actually gonna say DM Aki, but
Oh, that could be it.
See, that's
you
the
know,
thing
who
with
knows?
names. We just never know. And
The Mackey?
I've only had one person really correct me, and shame on me because I drink tea all the time, and I should certainly be able to pronounce tea. But it was like TEA, so for some reason I thought it was Tia, but it was beverage
What-
tea, and I knew that.
what-
Was
The
it-
beverage
was it the
tea?
beverage
Or
tea?
like Tay.
But
Yeah.
it just had tea. So,
Yeah.
and I was maybe recently watching the stupid
mean,
Yu-Gi-Oh! And
Yeah, I
the
was
girl's
gonna
name
say
is
Yu-Gi-Oh has the
Hey,
girl's
the
name
winner
is
is
Taya.
the winner is T. It's TEA.
Tia. Anyways, so if you didn't win, have no fear. Head on over to critacademy.com/loresmith and get a free set of digital terrain and so much more. He's got some one-page adventures, some awesome fat loots. I'm waiting for my remarkable shops to show up, actually, and it cannot get here quick enough. So
Oh, yeah.
definitely check out those fat loots. Now, on to the main topic, what we've all really come here for. I'm really excited for this topic because it's something I think everyone has an opinion on. Now
Yeah.
everyone's opinion is wrong and mine's correct, but that's a whole nother discussion, I think. So we're gonna be talking metagaming, the good, the bad, the ugly. Gabe, would you like to tell everyone what metagaming is for those who don't know?
Sure.
Not in the know.
So Wikipedia defines metagaming
You can-
as any.
Nerd.
Let me rephrase that. The show notes define metagaming as any approach to a game that transcends or operates outside of the prescribed rules of the game, uses external factors to affect the game, or goes beyond the supposed limits or environment set by the game. Metagaming might also refer to a game which functions to create or modify the rules of a subgame. Thus, we might play a metagame selecting which rules will apply during the play of the game itself.
So homebrew
So
rules.
Yeah.
to give an example that is not D&D, because there is also a
Right, right.
specifically D&D
Yeah.
specific definitions. In an online fighting game, for example, as the game gets more popularity, there will be players who develop skills that play off of the intent of the game. You might find abilities that weren't intended by the game. You might find glitches and such that you can exploit, and then those become part of the game itself. So
Yeah.
just playing the game isn't enough to be good at the game. In that setting, you also have to know what are other players doing so that you can kind of build off of that.
Exactly.
That actually touches into the next line, because like using your fighting game example, let's say you go to a tournament, and there are particular fighters that are considered in meta, if you will, or popular,
Yes.
especially by the top tier fighters. So other players may create a fighting style to counter those characters, or particular
done
players'
that.
fighting styles, or and so forth.
Yeah, and you see that in a lot of other games. Magic the Gathering's a really good one,
Yes.
or any deck building game where you have to build and combat against people. Certain players come up with these ultimate decks, and the meta becomes that because then everybody starts using it because it's so successful, and then you've got people who build decks to go against what's considered the meta or the most popular or the best or whatever.
Usually called
Using-
the anti-meta
Yeah,
deck or the
using,
anti-meta whatever.
you're basically using knowledge acquired not within the rules but outside of it to influence your decisions moving forward,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It's a very good way to put that, actually.
And quite frankly, if you get to like a highly competitive national tournament and Magic the Gathering, and you say, "No, I don't follow the meta at all. I'll just do my own thing," people will look at you like you're insane.
That happened to me. I
It's
got
like-
third place in a
Right.
tournament with a mill deck when it wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, there's some
Everybody know
environments
that
where it's
like
expected.
the three different types of Magic players.
Yeah. So how can we tie this directly into? I don't know. This was your baby. Do you want to lead this? Because it'd be nice for me to sit back and comment and not have to drive the conversation.
Right, because the next line I put in is Wikipedia's definition for my game with RPGs.
Specifically.
Yes. Describes a player's use of real-life knowledge concerning the state of the game to determine their character's actions when said character has no relevant knowledge or awareness under the circumstances, in some cases.
Right.
This can refer to plot information such as secrets or events occurring away from the character, or game mechanics such as statistics or precise limits of abilities.
Statistics.
Yep.
That's a big one.
And outside of role-playing, it could just refer to using knowledge or understanding of external factors, such as, did I bribe the DM with pizza today?
Monsters. Monsters too.
Yeah.
So now we've got a really good idea of what metagaming is. So the big thing is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? Why? Why? Why?
All right, and let's start with this next question. Why do many people believe that metagaming in the context of tabletop RPGs is negative?
Do we want to hear what our guests have to say on that before we give our input?
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we can judge them.
Sure, Jeff, you got something?
Why,
It's like you threw 'em on the-
so why is metagaming in something like D&D is negative? kind of it pulls you out of the story sometimes. Like if it's you're not as you're not in the story, you're not in the moment because you're outside of it, thinking of okay, what what should I be doing? What makes the most sense? How can I win this encounter, and not
Right.
just thinking of what my character would do. You're just thinking of how can I win.
Yeah.
And, while
And-
winning is fun, everybody understands
Would
that.
agree.
It's not gonna make the game as a whole more fun.
Mm-hmm. And it does. That is like a hard line to cross too, because there is that. For instance, if you have a DM who does hard encounters, you
think
have
he
to
just
think
looked at
for
me.
yourself like this: what would my character do to prevent him from dying, and what would I do to prevent me from dying? And I feel like that's where the metagaming kind of really comes into play, is because this character, the players, I assume, normally develop this attachment towards their characters, and at least for new players, maybe even
Especially new players.
Yeah, and they want to keep that character alive, right? But so they'll do something that is so not like their character. They'll kill an innocent or something if they're a good guy or something.
Just to get away and ensure their character's safety. You know?
Exactly. And is that metagaming?
Well, here's something else that I think that's actually a good segue into the next line. And
Well, let's see what Gabe has to say
No,
on
yeah,
it
for sure.
first.
Well, I'll just say that depending on what type of metagaming, because we will talk about many different types of metagaming.
and there is.
One thing that can make it negative is that, to some extent, to some people, it might be that they feel like you're breaking the rules of the game. If it is that you're acting on knowledge your character wouldn't have, then that's what else can you do? Can you just make up abilities that you have? If you were playing a game, let's say you were playing tag, and one of the kids playing tag is really good at climbing, so they just climb up on top of the house, and they're like, "Oh, you can't tag me." That's kind of metagaming, because they're using what they know outside of the rules of tag, which is you chase after each other and tag one another or whatever. They're using some ability other players don't have.
Justin's too fat and can't climb, so I'm just going to go really high.
And so the others might feel like, well, you're breaking the game isn't fun anymore because you're just making up what your own rules are.
So really just violating the spirit of the game.
Is really
I think to a degree we touched on already is I think many people don't realize how broad of a thing metagaming is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
not all...
very common. It's very common for the attitude to be all metagaming is bad,
Right.
Yeah.
bar none, without acknowledging no. There's many things you do that are metagaming that are good. You probably just don't consider them metagaming because you're okay with them.
Right.
Yes.
And I think you're right. That leads into the next thing is, so maybe we should start off talking about some of the good things,
All right.
and then end on maybe what people consider bad. Or is that how you want to do that?
It's already broken down that way.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
that works. Yeah.
All right.
I actually knew that. That's how I was trying to drive the conversation.
Right. Well,
I got you.
the first topic is metagaming is good. And I'm going to start off with this by listing some of the examples we have here. When a new player sits down at the table and asks what role needs to be filled. Oh, you guys need a healer? I'll play a cleric.
I think
do that all the time.
I think that's a great use of that, because that's literally you're going into outside the rule set and saying, okay, what does the players need, not what do the characters need.
I just started playing Elder Scrolls Online, and I literally asked that same thing.
Yeah.
Literally, like almost verbatim, what role needs to be filled.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh well, you can play anything. I was like, are you sure? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay, just letting you know.
Or when a player...
As long as you're willing,
Yeah.
It's more fun to have a nice filled out party because you're not gonna have
Everything functions better.
Unless everyone's a
like-
bard.
Yeah. And the next example is when the player chooses the background, so comments will bow before them because they like that mental image in their head.
So you're saying, does that really fall under
Yes.
good metagaming?
I'm
You're
doing...
talking about the player wants thinking characters to worship them, not necessarily that's what the character wants.
Yes. Like they're building
The
towards a certain
player,
reaction in mind.
Okay.
that is
I can see that.
Yeah, that is a form of metagaming because they're using
but
their
is it
outside
good?
knowledge.
Is it good metagaming?
That's
My point, though, is they're using the game system.
All right.
It might be a little easier to just think of not bad.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
It's not
there you go.
necessarily a bad thing to
Okay.
make a character because you want like if you were to be I want to be the character with the high charisma because I want the other players to treat me like the leader. That's not inherently bad.
Right.
You know, maybe you can use it badly, but
Sure.
Yeah,
by
sure.
itself, it's not necessarily bad. I would think it could go in the same category.
Okay.
What
I can agree to that.
Jeff, what do you think about this next question here? I know that
Example.
you this next
Example.
example under the here. I think you've ran a couple Rangers, and I
Oh,
think something
sure.
like this you could probably speak to.
Yeah. So it says here, when building a ranger, then they select a forest for their favorite terrain when they know they're going to be playing a campaign set in jungles, the jungles of Chult.
Okay.
So, yeah, like playing a ranger with favored enemy, favored terrain, and things like that, like you kind of do have to ask the DM, like, okay,
Yep.
what are we going to be doing? Because
Yeah.
you don't want to be like, oh, I love deserts, but we're going to be on the high seas.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And
You know, it's just that's not fun. That is basically you are giving yourself a penalty. You are like losing half of the benefits of your class
Correct.
just because
yeah.
you didn't know all of the adventure ahead of time, and that's not fun or fair for the player.
Not fun at all.
I
No.
agree. And
Very similarly, running like a paladin in the Descent into Avernus campaign.
yeah, Mr. Celestial Paladin, could you been any more obvious?
I wanted to run the same character.
An angel delving into hell, or angel-ish delving into
And you
hell.
know what? I'm having a great time.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
And I have dive bombed so many devils in this campaign.
Kind of in the same vein. It's like, okay, I'm an artificer who does not get much cantrips. I want to get Firebolt because it's the highest damaging cantrip that artificer can get. But I also know we're going to be fighting devils and demons who have fire resistance and immunity.
Yes.
Right.
So, and I realized I would not be having a lot of fun if I chose that as one of my 2 cantrips. So I picked Frostbolt instead.
And I think that's another good example of that's not a bad metagame, at least in my opinion.
And at that point, if it's really such a problem that they're just steamrolling everything, just make the encounter harder. It's not a hard problem, right? Just add another monster. Add
Or
literally or 4. 4? You've thrown 4 extras at us before?
You're surprised?
More than that.
Jeez.
However many
No
it takes.
wonder.
No, I just
And we
let
still won.
I let your rolls determine that stuff. When you guys like fail your climb checks or something, and you're passing by like a cave door, if you roll really poopy, I don't necessarily have you fall. I just have a bad guy show up.
I guess that's fair.
Uh,
So yeah, it's like that. Like there is simple fixes to those as well. Is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to get at.
more waves.
Yeah, just throw
Crush
throw
'em.
more stuff at them. Players like combat anyway.
Do you want to tell? So what about this other one here, Gabe?
The next one is when you roll a 19 against an enemy and miss, and therefore decide to run away. And so yeah, that's when you, the player, realize, oh, this is way more powerful than I thought it was. I don't think that we can beat this, so I'm going to have my
out of
character
dodge.
run away. Even though to a character, it's arguable whether they would know, oh, this thing is unhittable, or if it's just, oh, I had a bad swing.
I have a way around that to make it seem believable as well. And what I would say is that they rolled that 19 right. They were obviously very like they knew exactly what they were going for, and they hit that spot that they thought would work. And the enemy just simply either like shrugged it off or like they parried it skillfully or something, right? The enemy obviously played a role into this, and then they look at that and they're like, oh my god, I need to run.
Or the raging barbarian swings her axe at a giant demonic figure who then raises one finger.
And blocks it. That's what I was
like
thinking.
stuff like that. Like there's a clear like power gap in this.
Block it with the middle finger.
Now, no, that also would require some DM input too on that end.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does require
Yeah.
DM input. Same as the last point, though.
But that
it does
definitely-
require DM input.
I definitely think that's and something I hadn't considered, but happens a lot, and I think it happens a lot with the next thing, which is, or I don't know, is the next thing with skills.
Or abilities.
Or abilities in
okay.
general, yeah.
Yeah, so when you have 2 players that choose abilities to combo together, did they figure that out beforehand? Because that would be metagaming it. Now, I would say that if they both used the abilities and then decided later that it was good.
Or they both just leveled up and gained those spells.
Oh. So
Sure.
yeah, so that'd be another one like where you decided, hey, if we both take, flesh to stone and stone shape, what we can literally disfigure this guy. Right? Is that how that works? You
Yeah.
turn one guy to stone and then
Yeah.
shape him in the look like a mushroom or something?
Yep.
Right.
Or just split them in half.
Yeah, I think it's like Stone Shape does like a a ton of damage to things made of stone or something like that. If you're just like outright attacking with the spell.
Yep.
But I mean, like, if it's during a level up or something, you can play it off as like, oh, when you're leveling up, you're kind of training your new spells. You're like learning your new spells. But if you're in a party, you're learning spells together.
Oh,
You'd be like,
absolutely. Yeah.
you'd be like, look, like it's kind of like cheating on a test. You're looking over at their notes and you're like, oh, okay, stone. All right. Yeah. Like,
I learned early on
All right,
not to
well,
cheat
I'm
off
gonna
people.
change that up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna not take stone shape like him, but I'm gonna take flesh to stone. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it would be all
And then
chance.
then he looks at you. He's like, "Wait, did you just turn him to stone?" He's like, "Yeah. You know what you should do? What? You should shape that stone."
Take away his arms so he can't wield a weapon. I like it.
But yeah, and is that inherently bad?
I don't
No.
think so,
No,
but
I'd
I
say
bet
no.
you there
Yeah.
are some people who do. And therein lies the problem, in my opinion, with metagaming, is it's so
Broad.
subjective.
Yep.
Yes.
Subjective.
And I think that's what we're trying to tackle today
Yeah.
as
It's
well,
from-
right?
At least give some insight.
And this next example is when a player chooses optimum choices for their race, class, and multiclassing ahead of time. Like, let's say, I'm going to play a variant human, and I'll take the, shall we say, the Warcaster feat, and I'm going to be starting as a Warlock, and I'll then choose Sorcerer, then I'll choose Fighter, because my plan will be, I'll be meta-magicking my Eldritch Blast, and then I'll be action surging all that crap all the time.
And-
Bow before me, peasants.
And now this, to me, I'm the type of DM that I don't give a shit. It's within the rules. You build whatever the hell you want.
Right.
But there's some DMs that have a whole lot of problem with that. And you guys, I don't care what Gabe and Jeff say about there's no wrong way to play the game. If there is, and screwing somebody over just because they decide to plan out their character and you can't decide to throw a bigger monster at them or something, that's...
Yeah, it's a
Screw
little
you.
on you.
Anyways,
Fair
I know
enough.
I've listened to enough of your shows to know that you guys really, at least generally,
Let the
believe
player
that
play
there's
their character.
no wrong way to play the game. Was that correct?
I mean, well, pretty much. I think that there are some cases where it's hard to justify a particular play style.
Right.
Very diplomatic response.
it's all subjective on some level.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, as long as everybody's having fun, and if somebody's fun is building out, 20 levels of a character, they might not
Yeah.
even get to level 7.
Yep.
Right.
Agreed.
Like,
Yeah.
or like why stop them? Like if anything,
feel better.
you know what the player's planning, so that you can plan the adventure around that. Hopefully not
Or
to
against
screw
them.
over, but to make it more interesting.
That's a good answer.
And actually, that leads into my next bullet point. When a DM chooses to or not put in certain content into the game because they know what their players want or do not want, or even in some cases
That's good meta right
build encounters around players. Like,
great.
one example I told Justin was, I remember one game where the key to solving a puzzle was actually going off of scent, and that was in there because the DM knew that one of the players who was playing a tabaxi had a habit of sniffing everything as they played along. So the idea was to have this character figure out the puzzle, like, wait a second, we go that way.
there. See,
Makes sense to me.
that's
The irony was,
fantastic.
the irony though was that was one of the few times said player did not actually start spelling everything. So we were
Well,
stuck
yeah.
for a while.
Whenever I do something like that, it ends up being the one time they didn't do that.
Right,
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
I just threw a very powerful magical sword of Bahamut at one of my players. All of them, including the player, forgot that he worshipped Bahamut, and I'm like nudging him, like, come on! Do you guys remember that? Because I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
I
that.
remember that. I was so mad at Matt. I was like, bro, come on.
I was like, I
You
nudged-
literally
I-
built everything around Bahamut. Literally, you have the sash, you have the armor, you had like
he has like the embroidered thing on his armor too. Anyways,
you pray to him like almost every session. Like, come on, dude.
Or another example of this is, and this, mind you, was a very extreme example. It's like, oh, this player's family just had a miscarriage. Maybe I won't run that ghost baby adventure that I was planning on running.
so
okay.
I
think it's
actually
an extreme example,
I can
but-
personally talk to this
Sure.
because in our patron game, we were running in the Underdark, and I stopped streaming that on the internet because of the nature of that adventure that involves a lot of drow being imprisoned and tortured and stuff. And then I took into consider the current political climate, and I decided,
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to stream this no more. Not because I compare the two, but because I understand the sensitivity of other people.
Exactly.
And that the correlation is uncanny. So,
And guess what, guys? That is a form of metagaming.
yes,
At
and
the
that's
end of
a
the
good
day.
one.
At the end of the day, that is crazy enough a form of metagaming.
Although there is sometimes too, as a DM, it's always a good during session 0 in circumstances like that going, okay, here's the kind of adventure we are going to be having.
Yeah.
Isn't
Well,
that in and of itself a form of metagaming?
Yes.
Having
It
a
is.
session 0?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how
for
many
sure.
DMs are going to be like, no, this is not true, it's in the book. I don't think it's actually in the book.
Okay. And actually, most of these
know.
good points I'm mentioning, which I'll admit, a lot of these do fall into some gray areas or even particular play styles.
Yeah.
It's like there was a argument online about metagaming on Facebook, and one person's like, metagaming is always bad, don't do it. I'm like, it's not always all bad. Oh yeah, when it's ever good. Then I listed these examples. I'm like, oh look, I bet you're thinking, but that's not metagaming. Actually, it is. But notice how sometimes
yeah.
metagaming is to be expected on some level.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
can't avoid it.
I think HP tracking is a really good example of that.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
an expected. Your character doesn't have a health bar. Oh shit, Billy! I only got 3 hit points before I go down. Heal me. Character doesn't know that. Come on.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Also, really, just knowing your stats at all.
Yeah.
If there's a skill check that needs to be made, well, okay, Jeff's character is really good at athletics. So, hey, Jeff, why don't you have your character climb up this thing? Well, I mean, my character is, also athletic. My stat isn't as high as his. So story-wise, it would make sense for me to just do it. But
Right.
mechanics-wise, we know that his character has a better chance of success. So,
They walk up to that rope and they start measuring each other's arms. Your arms are a little bigger than mine, so why don't you go up first?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with that example, clearly anytime you roll dice and add the numbers to them,
Yeah.
you're metagaming.
right.
So, Jeff, do you want to tell us about this last one here? Before
See,
we
if a
move
player
on to
changes
bad.
their mind on doing something when a DM asks, "Are you sure?"
Are you sure you want to answer this?
I think we've all been there
Yeah.
at some point.
I've
Oh, I mean, like, yeah, that's really tough because that'll stop a player in their tracks like right away. They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I don't
it's like a
know now."
warning from God. You,
character
you look
running
up
off
and you're like, maybe not.
Or asking the player, "Are you wearing gloves?"
Yes, of
What?
course I am, Gabe.
yes.
But you never said you were putting them on. Oh, come on now.
Did I
I
ever-
always wear gloves.
Did I ever say I was not wearing gloves?
Touche.
I am a rogue. That's pretty much like a thing we all have, right? We always have gloves.
Are you sneaking? Why, yes, I'm a rogue. I always sneak.
That's the only setting I come on. Duh.
Are they fingerless gloves though?
Dun dun dun.
no, he got
I
me.
don't think they are. Actually, the other night while you were sleeping, I cut the fingers out. So yes, they are.
Oh no.
Yeah, just stuff like that.
And actually, what an example I actually heard multiple times in other videos is of a form of good metagaming is when a player is playing a rogue, and who would naturally steal stuff, but they choose not to steal stuff from their fellow players.
I like that.
Okay.
Wow,
We need
okay.
more of those.
Yeah.
They don't steal stuff from their own players.
Yeah, it's a
Like-
little like kind of
I mean, I'm not gonna play that way, but hey, whatever.
Some do.
that's crazy that people can actively do that. I don't know. That seems like such a dirtbag thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
Like I remember
Like-
one example was a player rolled to steal something from the party wizard. Party was oblivious to this. Obviously, the other players out of character knew this was going on, and then the cleric was like, "All right, that's it. I'm sick of your stealing." What stealing?
You haven't seen it. So, there's
Sorry,
so we've talked about a lot of the good stuff.
Yeah.
or even the expected.
Expected good stuff or
Yeah.
bad stuff. So, Gabe, what can you tell us about some of the more obvious bad stuff, the bad aspects of metagaming? Anything that jumps out, or you can pick up one of these bullet points?
Well, I will talk about the very first one that is on the outline here, and that's when a player reads an adventure ahead of time to get them an advantage. I've never played with a player who has done this, at least not that I know of.
Or on purpose.
But, well, yeah, not on purpose. I mean, I guess I have played in a game where I myself have read the adventure sometime in the past, but not to get myself an advantage, just because it was a popular adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I just cannot get myself into the mindset of a person who would do that, because what's the fun in that? I mean, for me at least, I see no fun in that.
I can recommend a few novels if you're into that, dude.
Yep.
Right? Because that's all it is if you're reading ahead, you might
Yeah.
as well just be reading a book.
And
you already
yeah.
know what's going to happen.
You know, adventures are fun to read just because you want to you want to understand the game and everything.
or good
No, for
ideas.
sure.
Learn different tricks and stuff if you're trying to make your own adventure.
So then there's more to it than just reading ahead. It comes down more to motive,
It's the advantage
the
part.
intent, the intent.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think, by and large, for the most part, if a player on purpose is reading an adventure to gain an advantage, a lot of people consider that cheating, just outright.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So intent, it really isn't about reading the adventures in advance, but specifically the intent to gain advantage, as Gabe had pointed out.
Or like a good example of that too is like, I'm actually in the middle of not one but 2 Avernus campaigns, and both DMs, mind you, are changing some stuff as they go along. But there's definitely a lot of deja vu here and there too. But I believe, I'm not really using knowledge gained from one campaign into the other to gain an advantage. So
Well, that's good.
I'll even say there was one time I was playing in a game that I found out later was an adventure I had read previously, but I didn't realize it because the DM had changed so many things. And also seeing it from the perspective of a player is so different from
Yeah,
from
that's
reading
true.
the
I would
adventure.
agree with that.
because like how the DM may present it when they run the game may be different from how the book presents it too, for that matter.
That is
Right.
so on point. I have when I was doing the Adventure League stuff up at the store, I ran through the same modules as that I had run myself, and just the way the dungeon master presents, with the exception of the read aloud text, which is usually always the same, the rest of it could go any direction because players have so much agency, and they can change so
they
much
do.
stuff. You're gonna say something, Gabe?
Oh no, I was agreeing with you.
Oh, you went like that. I was like, I got
was
something to
stretching,
say,
sorry.
just so you know. What about you, Austin? What's another really bad aspect of metagaming, or at least neutral?
So one that I definitely can see here is the player reads the stats of the monster they are fighting in the monster manual.
I'm
Now,
pretty sure you
there-
just did that right on the live stream the other day. That's Friday, didn't you?
Well, yeah, because we knew about it. That's the thing. See, now there's the difference. Now here's the difference. So we actively sought out information to fight these things, right? And the DM had allowed us to know what the stat blocks were. That is not a bad form of metagaming because the DM had allowed it by that point. So we are expected to know these things even as characters.
Because you did the research
And I
in the
didn't know this
library.
as a player anyway, so I had to look at it to begin with.
And when we were researching demons before we went to Avernus, I rolled over a 40 on my knowledge check.
He did. It was kind of crazy.
To be fair, there was some other homebrew stuff involved too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
for
because
sure.
you guys got the
We had like
the talent point
talent
things.
points, yeah. But the point is that
And justification was, okay, I'll tell you what. If you fight a demon and you ask questions about it, I'll answer it.
pretty much,
And then it just got in. I'm
There you
lazy. Go look at the stat block.
pretty much, which isn't bad. I mean, for our table that had worked. Now there is going to be if there's a player who obviously was, let's say, born and raised in like some other like high class city or something, and they were about to go fight this swamp monster that's on the other side of the world, and they look up the stat block, there's no way they probably have any information on that thing,
Yeah.
at least from the situation that I just gave you guys.
Yeah, or just in general, without any reason why your character would be invested into learning the monsters anyway.
Exactly.
I think the reason that's so bad is because, and I do this as a DM all the time, I change monster stat blocks. Shit, one of our UTTs is a monster variant. You know why? Because I changed it so much, I made it part of the show.
It's true.
But what happens is, and I've only seen this a few times, where I do something and then the player says, the monster can't do that. I was like, the fuck it can't. It
The
just
monster
did.
does whatever I say it
Yeah.
does.
Exactly.
But I feel like that sort of negative builds, is animosity the right word? And anger
can.
in towards the DM because
Yeah.
they're expecting one thing and getting something else. And I think that's where looking up stats is just a terrible, terrible idea.
Although you can flip it back on them, why are you looking at that monster stats in the first place?
Well, and sometimes as a DM they might know, and that's hard knowledge to split from yourself.
Yeah, especially when it comes to creatures that have a weakness. Like the example, of course, you should always look to is trolls.
Yep.
We were
Trolls.
just having that discussion.
You know, they have regeneration that is only stopped by a certain energy type or a couple certain energy types. So when you as a player encounter a troll, and even if your character hasn't encountered a troll before, you the player know fire is going to be more effective. So do you use fire, or do you purposely not use fire because your character wouldn't know that?
Inversely,
Yeah.
I also ask you too, which one, as you play through it, is more awkward to do?
So
Yeah,
honestly,
right, yeah, it's like Aren't they both metagaming? Like you're metagaming,
Do not metagame.
Yeah.
right? You're,
Right.
you're anti-metagaming, which I guess is just more. It's just metagaming in the other direction.
Well,
Right.
I was going to cover this more in the next section, but since you brought it up, one of the I linked 2 YouTube videos at the end, and one of them was a video done by Seth Skorkowski, who does the topic of metagaming, and he did use an example of trolls, like he said, and the players, the GM's like, "You guys encounter a troll? Great! I check out my torch and oil. Hold up, that's not what your character does. But you said it was a troll. Yeah, but your character never encountered a troll before. Okay, but you told us it was a troll." If you,
Okay.
if
Yeah.
you, if
Yeah.
you, first off, and like we as players know that trolls exist. What trolls are? Trolls don't exist in our world. Our characters live in this world. It stands to reason they know what trolls are. There's probably songs,
Yeah.
banners, and so forth.
Bard's tales.
Or even your parents going, "Don't go into the swamp because there's trolls there."
See, now for me,
Hang on, just more. And it's also more awkward to go, not to pretend you don't know what a troll is and get wailed on it for 3 rounds for no reason whatsoever. And
Yeah.
and another example too is, okay, I may not have ever seen a platypus before, but you someone down next to me, I don't know it's a platypus.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
my thoughts on this, really, anytime the players come up against a monster, if it's not already something that's clearly just they're expected to know what it is, knowledge check should be instant across
Sure.
the board. Because that instantly, as DM, I can say, "Oh, Austin, you actually recall reading up an old article about a guy getting kidnapped by or girl getting kidnapped by a troll, and the old farmer burnt it away with a torch and melted its flesh."
Okay.
I can tell him that because he rolled whatever knowledge check was needed with was it beast nature? It's not nature for trolls, is it? Arcana, monstrosities.
It depends.
Doesn't matter,
I can
whatever.
never remember. I always
But
look it up.
history is always a good generic one.
Well, another good thing too is that was also brought up. Like, okay, you told us it was a troll. Your arguments, however, would stand if you said a large green humanoid right out of the swamp.
Sure.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know it was a troll then. Now would they?
That's why I'm a big believer of not just saying what the monster is unless they decide to spend time in the biggest library in Forgotten Realms to learn about fucking devils and demons.
See, now that's the thing.
You let us.
I mean, you could have just thrown waves of more enemies at us.
Yeah, I don't want to kill you all.
But that's not
just
fun.
one of
You could have thrown assassins at us to interrupt our reading.
Anywhere else but Candlekeep. There's so much defensive stuff in Candlekeep. I
That's
don't know
true.
that that's...
Yeah,
Unless
it's
you, like,
not even
opened a book and it
feasible.
blew up
Yeah.
like one of those old Mission Impossible letters.
Yeah. Well, Murakan Chat says he found it kind of what we were saying. It best to not name enemies by their creature name and just give descriptions unless
that
it's
monster?
something blatantly like that's a goblin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if it's special abilities, give a unique description of what those abilities are doing.
I like that. I like
It's a
that.
fair point.
Is are we done? Did we go through all the metagaming is
No,
bad
there's
stuff?
one more.
You want to tell us about that, Austin?
Sure. When a player has their character act on knowledge they cannot possibly know, such as they are in a different room when it happens and there is no way to communicate or observe this information.
I got an ogre slaying knife. It's got a +9 against ogres. You're not there.
It's a big one. Matt loves to yell at. Whenever we're not in the same room, he goes, "You're not there!" Immediately. Doesn't matter what you're saying, you're not there.
It just like turns off his ears. What do you guys think about this?
I think that it is bad. However, I think that it is hard to, especially for newer players, it can be hard to differentiate what you know and what you don't know.
Yes.
And sometimes it's a gut reaction, but if it's a conscious thought, then it's definitely something that you should not act on.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I actually mention another podcast that did something that I listened to recently?
As long as they send a check for
Okay,
sponsorship and no, go
I'll
on.
get in touch with them.
No.
So there's a podcast I listen to. It's called The Film Reroll. It is it's a actual play podcast where the group plays through movies as RPGs.
Star Wars one was awesome, by the way. Thank you for recommending that.
Yes, it was.
I enjoyed it.
And last year, I think maybe 2 years ago, they did one of the Friday the 13th movies. But
Interesting.
because the DM didn't want the players viewing their characters as expendable, the DM lied to them about what movie they were doing. He made up a movie that was like a teen sex comedy, and all the characters'
awesome.
names were the same. Everything was the same, but none of the players had seen this particular movie.
Oh my god.
So they're going through this thing. The DM even came up with like mechanics on how to increase or decrease love with other characters,
That's
all
next
sorts
level.
of
That's
stuff.
so
But then
thorough.
there was a point about halfway through where the players find out that someone was murdered in town just recently, and one of the players, like you could see, it was like a switch got flipped in his mind, and he could not play his character the same after that because everything that happened, he was suspicious of it being, this isn't actually the movie we think it is. Something is going wrong here, even though his character wasn't even present when the information was given out. His character was off doing something else, but he couldn't get his mind out of the spot of we're going to get murdered because this isn't the movie we think it is.
Right.
And I can imagine that can be kind of tough too, because of the fact that, again, your character's life is on the line. You don't want to think you're gonna die, and two, I mean, good on the DM for fabricating the whole thing for one. That's impressive. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Even uploaded fake YouTube videos under a different account name.
Wow.
Specifically, that
is
Damn.
impeccable. By
That's
the way,
a nat 20 on deception check right there.
yeah, that guy is a hero. But it's hard because like when you're fed all this information, it's obviously kind of what you said before. When you know that this isn't what you expected it to be, it's kind of hard to go back into the character mindset.
Okay.
Or it can be, I guess.
Or another example is you guys are playing in a Star Wars RPG. Good luck having the players pretend they don't know what a Jedi is.
Or a Sith, or a
Right.
the Empire, or any of those. I mean, some things are obvious, but
Yeah.
knowing you can't unknow what you know, even though we try our damnedest not to.
Right.
But it's the people that try to leverage that to gain an advantage that are really the problem generally.
And that's why it would be considered bad.
So
Or another example of this could be like if a spy in the library finds out like in a genealogy a key clue that solves the whole thing immediately, then the player 2 floors up in the ballroom, you are the guilty party.
Yes.
even though he's not
That's-
there.
Yeah, there's the big one.
So we've talked about the bad.
Yeah.
It gets worse though, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
What is the ugly? Gabe, you want to tell us something that's ugly in metagaming?
Yeah, when a player uses it as an opportunity to tear down somebody else because of the choices they made with their character, for example. We talked about how choosing optimal class race combinations and such can be good if someone doesn't do that, and then you start criticizing them because you're not playing you're not playing the best character you could be playing. What's wrong with you?
yeah.
Okay. Like, I had a friend of mine who was playing a barbarian in one game in the either Pathfinder or earlier edition of D&D, and he chose to repeat Power Strike. And the other player's like, "You're metagaming!" It's like, I'm a barbarian who hits hard. Why would I not choose Power Strike?
Makes sense to me.
For me, criticizing other players is the lowest you can get. The whole idea behind RPGs and gaming, regardless of the format, the platform, whatever, is to be a community and
Almost have the freedom of choice to be what you want.
yes.
I feel like that's a big thing people don't understand.
I've been on the receiving end of that. I don't consider myself a poor player.
Right.
In attitude, sometimes I can be pretty pissed off. But when I choose characters, I build a character around a concept. And honestly, I don't care most of the time if that concept isn't optimal. A good example, when 5e first came out and I wanted to be a grappler, all I heard about was how horrible it was and a stupid idea. Guess what? I may not have did the most damage, but I'll tell you what, how many of my victims died underneath my big throaty grip to one of my allies' blades? Oh, it was awesome. And I don't care what you say, John, you suck. And my barbarian was awesome. And I was told that I'm not a good player because I picked something that was suboptimal, which, by the way, turned out to be one of the most optimal things I could do. So
Yeah. And for me, the ugly is, as we kind of firmly established, when people use the phrase, "That's metagaming," as a club to beat down other people. Like, I can give numerous examples. Like, the one that I go to was when one of my groups were playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition for the first time. And we were playing like level 1, level 2 characters. We were bronze level adventurers in our guild, if you will. And our mission was to deliver a package. And as we were going through a forest, we got ambushed by orcs who were clearly after said package. We defended it. We killed them. We found a note on them, and the one player who picked up the note, he could read Orcish because that's what the note was written in, and he read basically text that implied quite heavily that our package was a bomb. But
It implied it quite heavily. It didn't just say it.
yes.
Okay. This is something that could go boom.
But then the player went, it's nothing, wats it up, throws it away. We delivered the package to a high wizard in his tower, who's on a wizard council, and then as we're leaving the town, off in the distance, we suddenly see a mushroom cloud appear where the tower was.
Oh goodness.
And the player's like, we should go help the town. And my character's like, nope, above my pay grade. And that's when the players went, you're metagaming. It's like, because you knew if the player doesn't explode. I'm like, no, I'm not metagaming, and here's why. My character said, this is above my pay grade because A, he knows he's a bronze level adventurer according to his guild. B, they don't hand out the term high wizard to just anybody. C,
True.
you don't see too many low-level wizards on a wizard's council. And D, pretty much powerful wizards have wizard's towers. And D, anything that can blow up a wizard's tower is probably punching a very high weight class above his. So that's how, and that was literally his train of thought of, this is above my pay grade. Bye.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense to
What
me.
do you guys think about that?
Yeah, no, I think that's in Ian's specific example. I think that just sounds like a specific play style rather than metagaming. You know,
No, for
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
there's plenty of ways to justify that in games. So for someone to say you shouldn't be doing that because you're metagaming, I mean, of course, everybody's metagaming in some way, like we said earlier, with
Whether
the
they admit it or
examples
not.
we gave.
Yep.
But I'm justifying it in game, and here's how my character justifies what they're doing.
I think it's good that he justified it, but I also think that we as players shouldn't have to go to that level. Because that actually, I think, is what leads into this next thing, which is when some sort of person does something so bad metagaming-wise that it breaks up a group or causes players to fight or
Or the
disband.
accusation of metagaming causing all that.
Is
Causing
that you
friction.
guys ever seen anything like that?
I have. I was in a World of Darkness game.
Of course it is.
Of course, it's my World of Darkness game, because that was it was something. But we were supposed to do. This was just a whole bad situation
you do
from
it in,
start to
like-
beginning. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. But the whole thing was that we all pretty much set up this like meeting to kill this one player because he's actively hurting the party essentially. And so obviously us as players and as characters would want to get rid of him. Well, unfortunately, the route that everyone decided to take was to assassinate him, Julius Caesar style.
At Tu Brute?
I was like, oh boy. And then
PvP can always end badly.
yeah, and it didn't fly over very well, but it was something that everyone had agreed on, except for the guy who was getting assassinated, because, well, he's the one getting assassinated, so he wasn't in the loop. And everyone pretty much unanimously agreed that, hey, this is kind of a problem, but instead of doing it kind of like adults, where we tried to say, hey,
Have a
this is a
conversation.
problem, which I know some of us tried to kind of say, hey, that's enough, you need to stop that, but it just never did.
Right.
And then it just exploded. It was really bad,
rough.
and I think after that, I don't think I actually played after that.
Like,
Yeah.
It was pretty tough. It was you could just feel the atmosphere in the room where everyone was just kind of like silent for a while, and we were like,
I have to admit, like, my one attempt at a World of Darkness game was the club on campus I had back in college, where people jumped down my throat when I attacked an invisible creature, like, you're metagaming! Okay, but I walked into a room where my allies are surrounding a singular point, beating into it. What do you think I'm gonna think?
Now, that isn't to discredit World of Darkness. I do find it a very enjoyable game. There's a lot to like in there, and I like a lot of the mechanics that go on in there. It just so happened that the group that I played with was a little rough to play together with at times.
What about you guys?
I've been in groups where it's sort of the same thing. It is definitely metagaming, but I've been in groups where players and DMs were unable to separate their dislike of another player from their dislike of another character. So
That's
like there have been
sure.
times where players and DMs have taken out of game frustration in game, and it really just kind of it cheapens the whole game when we're all just sitting around while the DM is throwing super powerful monsters at this one player because the DM has a problem with that player out of game.
Hate that
I kind
shit.
of have a similar thing, almost kind of almost opposite. So a time when I was DMing and my fiance is one of the players, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want it to appear like I'm favoring her, so like I don't want to like pull my punches against her, so I might, in a way, make it harder for her just to kind of like counteract that.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's sort of a way of metagaming where I'm trying to make
Trying
it
to
look
seem
like I'm
fair.
not pulling my punches just because she's my significant other.
Right.
So
But
Yeah.
indirectly, make
Anti-metagaming
it more
again.
challenging
yeah,
too.
I mean, obviously, this isn't anything that's gonna break up. This didn't break up the group or anything like that.
Yeah.
I haven't personally encountered anything like that. I've maybe sat in on a session where people were taking things very seriously, and I would not have stayed in that group if I was playing.
Mm,
But
that's fair.
I want to tell you guys
Yeah.
a story. I'll make it really quick because I want to not this run forever. But I went to a group of friends' house. We drove all the way 3 hours to play D&D with a big group. This is one of
Okay.
my. I wasn't super into it. It had been a while, but I was invited, so I'm like, oh, this will be cool. We're gonna do all nighter, all this stuff. We get there.
Yeah.
Well, we drove 3 hours. We were hungry. The game's supposed to start at 7. It's like 20 minutes to 7. We're like, oh, let's run to the store and get some food really quick. And so we did, and we got there about 7:05, 7:10. So we were late, clearly, but we were also most of the group. So couldn't
Right.
start without us. But when we got there, the lady was losing her shit and yelling that D&D isn't just a game, it's a way of life for us, and you made us late and everything.
Yikes.
And I was just like,
Wow.
you know what? I'm just going to go play PlayStation. Y'all have fun. I just ignored everybody because at that point, I was just like, you know what? That is not a game table I want to sit at.
And
Yeah.
it.
And I have met people like that, and that has ruined games for me.
Yeah, some people are just too into stuff. So, I guess one last question for you guys: is metagaming unavoidable?
And I think we all kind of agree that it is unavoidable to at least an extent.
And there's a large gray area that we all kind of agree with, and some of them are just simply a result of some play styles.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
so-
it's basically to be expected.
I think the only time you can say when metagaming is unavoidable is if you are freshly initiated into the game and you have no prior knowledge.
Well, if you have hit points, you're metagaming. So,
If you're rolling
That's
dice and numbers to them, you're metagaming.
Yeah.
Alright, let's see what I
guess
got
that's
back
fair.
to
Maybe someday when VR is so good that you can be in a game without realizing you're in a game.
Right.
Maybe then you can get through without metagaming.
That would be
You mean we're
so
not?
crazy.
Well, see, I
Right,
don't
you just
know.
have it implanted into your brain, and then like
There
your
you go.
DM
Like the
switches it on
Matrix.
without you realizing it.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be cool though. I really
That'd be
really
great.
love
Yeah, it'd be
Excel
great,
World, man.
but I don't
would
know.
love to see some of that. You ever seen Excel World? Shit's great. You should check it out. Anyways, any final thoughts on this before we move on to our under tips and tricks and stuff?
No, I think that's good for me.
Is there anything we didn't cover you guys think we need to talk about?
I think we got a solid chunk in my opinion, but I don't
What
know.
about you
That's me.
guys?
I feel like there was one thing that I was going to mention earlier in the good that I forgot to mention, but I don't recall what it was. So
Like I can think
it's
of
lost in the ether.
I mean, I can think of some examples I've read here and there.
I've got
I wanna give,
one.
but-
I've got one thing that I think is good metagaming: having access to the player's handbook.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's
No book, no characters building. That's good
Yeah.
metagaming in my book. Get it in my book? See what I did there?
And the way I say
Right,
it,
If you're going to prepare a spell, you actually have to physically prepare it. So
Oh,
I have to
yeah.
write down the spell, and I can't look it up in the book. I have to
Right,
have
right.
written it down myself.
I'm sure
you
you've
know.
seen those old videos of the woman running through during satanic panic saying, I saw my son summoning a demon. What did the demon look like, miss? Because I've never seen one.
Yeah, I've seen that. That was like a 60 Minutes piece or
Oh,
something.
yeah,
The
it
guy's talking
was-
about like, yeah, mother told me that she saw her son summoning a demon. And my question is, how is that not
The news
the
story.
biggest part of that story? If someone said, yeah, my son pulled out a plasma rifle and blew a hole in the wall, you'd be like, hang on a second. No, he didn't. There are no plasma rifles. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like
But
there's
instead,
That whole
Anyway.
thing was
Yeah.
crazy. So
Yeah.
I think that'll do it for our...
Well, my final thoughts are, for the most part, as long as really players are playing the game as intended, or it's the rules clearly intend, there's no major issue. I mean, like,
Have fun.
like I've seen like a debate online: should DMV rolling skill checks for players because they know whether they succeed or not depending on their roles are. And I saw firm arguments both ways. Like my neutral take was, I can say for like Arcana, perception or knowledge-based checks, sure, but something physical like acrobatics, athletics, sleight of hand, not so much.
Lucky.
Right, but yeah, and one player actually did the point, but wouldn't that also invalidate the lucky feat, the halfling racial feature, or the inspiration ability that artificers have?
Or just inspiration that any
Bard.
player can have.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I've even
I have blessed you with my inspiration. Hold it upon the hand as it glows, radiating light of awesome. When
Like-
can I use it? Whenever you decide you want to.
Also,
except when you can't.
I'll even say that rolling dice is fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun for players, and when you specialize in an ability, it's because you know that specializing in that ability is going to make your rolls better. If you don't know what you are rolling, if you don't even know that you made a roll, you're less likely to enjoy the fruits of the decisions that you've made.
Yeah.
I can agree to
It's
that.
a game that is about rolling dice and is about numbers, so you can't really
You can't dodge
it's
that.
very difficult to take that out of the game and
Yeah.
still have it be fun.
Right. And
Most dice rolls are based on something physical, like an athletics check, and it's like an athlete is going to know whether they did well or not. Like
Did he fall? Did I fall down the hill or down the pit?
like split.
you just kind of know. It's like, nah, I could have done. I know I could have done better.
Yeah.
The knowledge one's interesting though.
Right. And going back to HP as an example, I have, without question, seen some players jump down other players still saying you're metagaming when they're saying what their current HP was. Like you're not a surgeon. You didn't physically examine them. It's like, okay, but first off, the example you gave, that's not in the game rules. HP is the closest analog we have to that. And it seems reasonable that a player would know what their HP is at, and their argument was, but the fire ability does, which is was like, okay, but you're not analyzing an enemy, you're analyzing yourself. And C, last of all, I'm like, okay, even if
ankle
I'm not a
hurts.
medical expert, I think most players realize if another player's chest is concave instead of convex after being hit by a troll, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, you can always flavor how many hit points you have by just stating how's your body look. Well, my knee is on the wall. That's not good.
Right.
Well, my health's currently at, you know what your HP is at? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 67, I kind of feel like a 27.
All right.
That's a good
So
one.
I did think of another example of good metagaming. Is it okay if I bring it up, or is it too late?
Yeah, why not?
absolutely not. No, go ahead. I don't
Ah,
care.
darn it. I was just going to say that going along with the party and or going along with the plot hook is metagaming. If you know, hey, we all sat down to play this game, maybe our characters don't see eye to eye on things, but we want to play the game, so we'll join a party with each other. That's metagaming, and that's good
That's a good
because
one.
the game isn't fun arguing with the players over whether they should go on the adventure.
Right?
All right.
You know,
It's that whole like you can be evil and still have comrades.
Yeah, they just become minions. That's how I always treated it. I'm evil, but yeah, I'm getting them to do my dirty work. The goal is to make them all evil with me, which is far more fun and challenging than just saying, I don't want to go on this adventure that I signed up for when I sat at this table. What the fuck?
All right.
Right.
Because that's how you feel. That's how you sound when you choose not to go with an adventure. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
That you came to
Yeah.
play a game and decided you didn't want to play, because that's what you're doing.
All right. And
Yeah.
Anyways.
and to wrap this up, I did put in 2 links from 2 YouTube videos. One, once again, is from Seth Skorkowski on his talk about gaming, and WebDM also did a similar video too.
Yep.
So,
So check those out. You can find them at critacademy.com/post/episode 187. Or it's probably the top one if you watch it recently.
yep.
All right, so that'll do it for our main topic. Before we
Metagaming.
move on to our... Thank you.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, all of that jazz. Before we move on to our honor tips and tricks, we have another gift to give away. Which one of you read it the first time? Was that Jeff?
I think it was
Yeah,
Jeff,
but I did terrible. So could I take another crack at this one?
Sure.
I'll allow it, but I swear to God, if you can't get past the first sentence, I'm going to replace you with Gabe.
All right. I'll read it backwards for extra difficulty points. So this giveaway is Jeff Steven Games. This is Scourge of the Nightingale, Part 1, A Song of Love.
Ooh.
A masked menace terrifies the region, raiding villages to fund her devious plan. Unknowingly, the adventurers stumble into her most recent evil scheme. the kidnapping of a famous performer known as Devin Artis. Their mission is to deliver a ransom and collect Devin, though as in most cases, not all things go as planned.
Nope.
I thought you were gonna make it through without making a mistake.
And you did.
You did.
Good job.
Oh,
Did I
not
make
bad.
a mistake?
Yeah.
That's inspiration.
He
So
added-
go
he
into your
add- he
next
added a
D&D
word
game and add
thing.
inspiration real quick.
But other than that, it's all
Okay.
good. No. Yes. Who is our winner today, Gabe?
The winner today is Maximum Max 110.
Oh yeah! Woo!
Maximum.
To the max.
I used to watch it.
So he's so maximum, he goes over 100%, and he's 110.
There is no such thing. You ever
Wow.
hear-
That's not what maximum max
When
says.
when I was a kid, my teacher used to say, "You have to give 110%." Bitch, you can't do that. You either give it all or something less than 100%.
Was that your math teacher?
I don't effing remember. Actually, I think it was an English teacher. Justin, you need to give 110%. I don't even want to give you 90%, but you can't get more than 100. I was always I was a little
You must have
touchy
been
about
great
that.
at parties.
Oh no, everyone hated me. Congratulations, Max.
That works.
If you didn't win, have no fear, because Crit Academy is here. Head on over to critacademy.com/Jeff Stevens and get Villains and Layers 3 and Encounters on the Savage Seas 3 for free at no cost to you. Do you know why? Because Jeff is awesome.
It's true.
Jeff's pretty cool.
He'll be coming on next month, actually.
Oh.
He's got his first Kickstarter coming on, and I'm super excited for it. I love it. I think
Yay.
it's called the I don't know if I can give away. I don't think I can give away the title yet.
Yeah, well, it's not then. Just
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to keep it safe. I don't want him like,
How
yelling at
dare
me.
you give me free advertisements?
He just busts down our wall because it's Jeff and he has a
he
shotgun.
busts through it. Oh yeah, who did like the Slim Jim combined with
The Kool-Aid Man?
The Kool-Aid Man coming with Slim Jim. It would make more sense when you see the adventure. All right, that'll do
All
it.
right.
Congratulations.
All right.
Now on to it's my favorite part of the show. It's most of your favorite part of the show. Our honor tips and tricks. We're all here when it comes to play D&D to get inspiration, to have character ideas, adventure ideas, all that stuff. Every single week we bring this to you, but I got off the hook this week. I only had to bring you one of these. So I just want to say thank you, Gabe, for lighting my load a little bit.
No problem. And actually, I think you brought in two because there was one I didn't get to you before the thing.
Oh,
went out.
yeah, and I didn't want to replace it
So-
because I'd already put the notes out. So I
Yeah,
did
and
have to do a little extra work.
I do always like to, whenever I've been on the show a couple times, and I do always like to bring in a whole list of UTTs.
Fun
but
new stuff.
I had some difficulty coming up with an encounter that fit the theme I was going for. So
Yeah, and actually you managed to successfully capture the metagaming theme in most of these, and all of these, I think. So,
Oh,
hopefully I did.
actually, a good way to fit the theme would be to have like the player see 6 seconds into the future.
oh, that's dope. The player, how are you going to make the
Okay.
player see 6 seconds in the future? Because if you can figure that out, I would really like to know, because I feel like I could save a lot of lives with 6 seconds of time.
You do you do a narration. You see which way your opponent dodges as you miss your swing. Then you instead have advantage on your attack when you go up to them.
How do your players do that, though?
You tell them you see this because
I don't think he gets it.
time travel shenanigans going on here.
Players are people. You're talking about characters.
Yeah, and
Okay, never mind.
Anyway,
yeah.
All right, so who, Gabe, would you like to take the first one? And then we'll have
Sure.
the character concept, and then we'll have Jeff take the monster variant.
Sure. So the character concept is titled "Stranger in a Strange Land." Imagine this: you're driving home from work one day, thinking about your last session of Dungeons and Dragons. It starts
stick,
raining.
so-
The road becomes slick, and as you round a turn, you begin to lose control of the car. There's a bright flash, and then everything goes dark.
I knew I died.
But you wake up lying in the dirt with people bustling all around you.
Oh God, I didn't.
But as your
die.
eyes adjust, you realize these people aren't human. Not all of them, anyway. You see people with gray skin and tusks, people with pointy ears, men and women with scales and horns, and someone off in the distance begins screaming that a dragon is attacking the village.
I've had the stream.
So the idea here is that you yourself are your character in D&D. So you've been transported into the world, Faerun or Eberron or whatever world you're playing in. So how are you going to adapt? What skills do you have as a player, or what skills do you have as a person, rather, that might be useful as a D&D character? And then do you want to find your way back home, or are you happier living in a world of adventure and peril? So, pick a class that you think maybe is either something that fits the abilities that you physically have or something that you wish you would have. If it was an idealized version of you,
I'm dead.
what class would you be in
I-
D&D?
I was gonna say all my stats are under 10. I'm sorry, dude.
10's the average, keep in mind.
If you use the same method of determining stats as everybody else,
Yeah, I
you'll-
guess.
whatever.
Yeah.
I recommended using the Far Traveler background from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide.
It's a good
because
one,
that's,
yeah.
kind of what the concept is. But kind of play yourself as you would be if you were in this unfamiliar world. Well, some things are unfamiliar. You understand things that the other people in the world have no concept of. You know what damage is. You know what hit points are. It can be fun
never
kind of
even
learning
thought
how
about
that
that.
actually looks to your character. What
That'd
was
be-
that?
I said I never even thought about it. Like you would know, you have the physical concept of hit points and like spell slots and all that.
Yeah.
That's so
Like,
weird.
I'd be boned.
Your character knows that everything fits in a 5-foot square grid. And it blows your mind how you can move diagonally just as easily as you can move forward.
All these
play with
squares make
that.
a circle.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's good
This
stuff.
is actually, I wrote a short story probably 15 years ago about kind of this. It was about myself being transported into the world of D&D. It was the world of Eberron specifically. It was for a campaign that we were gonna play, but we never actually did. I was gonna be playing a person from Eberron, and then I was gonna have a sidekick that was me from the real world. And
Wait.
titled.
So you
What's that?
wrote a story that you got sucked into a fantasy world, and then you made yourself the sidekick.
Well, in the story, they were equally,
Oh,
they had
Yeah,
equal
yeah.
importance, but in the actual game, stat-wise, because my character, I was not going to have any skills worth a damn.
Oh yeah.
know
I was
that
going to have an
feeling.
actual PC, and then the sidekick was just going to be like a commoner,
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna
but
say,
I uploaded this to our Patreon. If anybody is a patron of ours on the $1 tier, it is one of the fantasy fictions that I uploaded a long time ago.
Nice.
nice.
awesome. I really like this. This is
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
almost named this Klein Gabert because that was the name of my character in the story. I mashed up my first and last name.
Klein
funny.
Gabert.
Yep.
This would be such a fun concept actually. Maybe not for an entire campaign, but definitely for a one shot. That could be super fun.
Sure.
Whoa. Do you have your thieves' tools kit? And did you roll high enough to pick that lock? What did you get on your roll check? What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Guys
'Cause
looking
if
at you
got-
like you're insane.
If you got less than a 10, it's probably going to go off.
Yeah, what's your role? What are you talking about?
Dude, use a bonus action.
What?
Why
You
did you
still
take
have
the
movement
dodge
left.
action?
You still have movement.
Oh
How
my
are you
gosh.
doing this all in 6 seconds? Time doesn't matter in here right now. We're in combat.
You're just looking around and everyone's like frozen. Oh, it's my turn.
Yep.
Oh, right, sure.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, play with that.
Yeah,
It
I
could
think
be
it's
so
fun. I think I agree with Austin. I think it would be hard to push this through an entire campaign, but a short adventure, yeah. And I think it would be great if you don't run. I don't think this would be fit a real a serious campaign, but
Sure.
my campaigns probably would be just fine.
And of course, you will need to work with your DM to know to figure out exactly where your character's metagame knowledge begins
Right.
and ends.
Oh, you hear the DM as a narrator. That only you hear.
Dude, look out!
Pretty darn
He's
good.
describing stuff down this hall. We're boned.
Yeah, what's that Will Ferrell movie?
Stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that what it
man.
is?
Yep.
Does he do that?
Or
Beautiful.
or the PC game Bastion, where there is a narrator describing everything as your character progresses.
Oh, that's cool.
He walks down a dark hallway. A slime appears in front of him. The hero then slashes repeatedly at the slime until it falls to pieces.
What happens if you stop? Does it stop?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wait,
he walks down.
Wait,
he
what,
crawls.
what,
He stops.
what game is that?
Bastion.
Bastion.
Yep.
What's the other one? Stanley Parable?
Yep, the Stanley
that-
Parable.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very, very similar, yeah.
Yeah, That is basically the like that is metagame in art form. I think.
It really is, and it's
all right.
pretty good.
I think that'll do it for our character concept. Stranger in a stranger land, not Gabert, Klein Gabert, Guybert.
Klein Gaber.
Klein
Is that your
Gabriel.
pen name?
Jeff, would you like to tell us about our monster variant today?
The monster variant is the Meta Golem. The base creature is the Iron Golem, which has a poison breath weapon. So its variant feature is the Sapping Breath, which has a recharge on a 5 or a 6. The Golem exhales debilitating breath in a 15-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 19 Constitution saving throw, taking 5d8 poison damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. Additionally, on a failed save, the creature loses 1d6 hit dice, regaining them on a long rest. A creature with no remaining hit dice suffers no ill effects beyond the poison damage.
I love this.
So yeah,
Suck
you're
away those
taking
hit
away you're taking away the healing hit dice that is so very important to
Yeah, with this one, I wanted to make a monster that took up some resource that no monster takes up, or at least like is very, very rare. And so hit dice, I couldn't find any official monsters that take away hit dice.
Yeah.
So I just kind of took the ability that Iron Golems already have. I cut the damage in half, and then had the remaining half be hit dice. In some ways, it's probably a little bit less powerful, to be perfectly honest, because you might only lose one hit die. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But
losing
Just
six hit dice
that
would
Constitution save is high though, man.
well, that's
it's
the
a cone
Constitution save
effect.
of the Iron Golem of that attack. I just figured a player is going to be terrified hearing that they just lost hit dice.
Yeah.
Right,
and I've always a fan of this sort of thing because I think you can make easy encounters much more challenging by not allowing recovery between them. I'm sure you guys have learned quite a bit about.
Yeah.
Sorry. And something like
I
this
go into a hell wasp hive
with nothing.
With nothing. Literally, no. I had one spell slot as a paladin, and I had nothing else.
And they're level 7, so.
And I think
I know,
this,
that's so good, huh?
I think you just discover how insane I can be with so many solutions here and there.
Yeah. And
Are you casting what spell in that situation? Oh, yes, I am.
so I think this is really great. To me, it's a very like you're sapping their vitality. So while they may not take like physical strain now, I imagine it being like Wolverine and getting a cut and then it not healing as quickly. That's kind of what I envision this kind of doing, or mentally fatiguing them or something.
That's how I always imagined hit dice, is that we're all just like basically superhuman, and like our wounds are just like healing as we just got to sit down and take a brief rest.
Hey guys,
like
I'm okay.
It's kind of like a delayed poison, because it's like you take some poison damage and then you go to like take a rest, and then like your wounds are basically like
You're like, oh,
you know, they're just not healing as they should be. So like it's just the poison is just taking effect later. It's kind of offsetting the healing that you would have done.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's great.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm always down for that kind of stuff too, honestly.
Well done.
Indeed.
I was surprised because I was gonna ask, like, did you lower the damage or anything? And it sounds like you're already on top of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
good job.
it's 10d8 normally, so I cut it in half, and then
I have the sapper fish. I think that does something like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
You have a few things I feel like that do something like this.
the
that just
sapper
take away
fish is
hit
funny.
dice.
I put them in streams. People just walk across streams, no problem. It's like getting zapped by electrical thing. It's not electrical damage though. Like your insides melt.
Yeah.
So I think you did a good job. I think the design is really nice. I love that it's a metal golem that has this.
I like that a lot. It was very tasteful.
to be perfectly honest, I was like, okay, what monster sounds like metagame? I was like, metal golem.
Okay.
That works.
Yeah, when I giggled when I looked at it, I was like, that's right on the head, isn't it? Quite literally. That's
Yeah,
not
it was
nice.
just bonk.
So that'll do it for our monster variant, the Meta Golem.
Love
Our
it.
encounter of the podcast is Wanted, the Rhino. Information is precious commodity. It always has a price. Now, Artis Felnir, a human commoner, a tavern swain, tells the characters of an old acquaintance, a traveling minstrel with a Sorry, getting heartburn now. With an interesting story to tell. The minstrel saw a bald, black-scaled Goliath cleaning up a shop to the north in the small cliffside town of Mauer. Now, you can, whatever city you want, whatever.
Sure.
Pointing to a wanted poster. When she arrived, she then realized she recognized him. The minstrel was sure that the black-scaled Goliath she saw was the wanted destroyer, the Rhino, a male Goliath half-dragon veteran. According to the wanted poster, whoever delivers him alive to the authorities here in the town can collect a reward of 5,000 gold pieces or an adamantine armor.
Ooh. Wow.
Passing information along to adventurers is Artis's core job, and requests a bit of the spoils or compensation should the heroes be successful. He asks for a half of the value, but with a successful DC 13 persuasion or deception check, he can be haggled down a little bit, about 10%. You can leave that up to the DM. What do you guys think about this?
Pretty fun.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. If I were to run it, I might play with the idea of what if they encounter Rhino and he swears he's not guilty.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
I like that. He was framed.
I like the idea
Yeah.
that you have to deliver him alive,
Yeah, that
which
was.
is
Yeah.
always
That was the big one.
significantly harder than here's his corpse. Here you go.
How are you
He's
gonna
dead."
capture somebody named the fucking Rhino?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
Or
I mean, I imagine he's hard to kill, so I think keeping him alive is probably the easiest part.
Transporting him a long distance though while he's alive,
Yeah.
and him see in my mind, he's not gonna just sit there. He's gonna be trying to escape left and right, which means you're gonna be kept up all night. You're not gonna be able to sleep. You're gonna have to make sure you're constantly checking the ropes or whatever you've tied him to.
Yeah, and he's
Or-
a terrible thinger, so he's just always annoying you with that too.
or just him with flesh to stone and deliver him that way.
Oh, there you go.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what? Now it is not a black dragon. Is there one that's immune to petrification? Anyways, I really like this idea. I love anytime you get a quest with two things. One, that the goal isn't to kill, right? Because that's the easy
Yeah.
thing to do, right? Because now you got to be careful about what
Here's a
spells
bounty
your
hunter.
wizard, the wizard is flinging around. You have to be mindful of how that thing you're carrying or traveling or you're getting it from point A to point B without it escaping, without it hurting somebody else, without it killing somebody or killing a party member. I mean, all those things kind of go hand in hand. And then, of course, having the person that's offering the information only offer it under the condition you're going to give something in return.
Sure.
Which I think is interesting. So,
It's a good one.
Anything
I'm about
else
it.
on this?
No, it's pretty good.
Seems like a well-rounded jumping off point for our quest.
That's how I roll. That'll do it for our encounter. The Wanted, the Rhino.
Oh boy, and our magic item is the monster manual.
Oh wow.
Quite literally. It's a legendary wondrous item. Surprisingly requires attunement.
I gotta
Bound.
read it.
Yeah, well, you know. Bound in dragon flesh and scrawled in a lost language.
English.
English. Let's just say this ancient text was one of 3 books created by the beings that crafted the planes themselves. That is brilliant. Within its pages contain all the information necessary to build and control the very beasts that roam the multiverse. If only you are able to withstand its words.
Understand.
Understand.
You mean
yeah,
make that a little
withstand it
bigger
too.
for you?
Yeah, a little bit, please. I'm blind.
That's true.
We know I need glasses, and I haven't had the time
Yeah.
nor money to get this stuff. Who needs healthcare? I do. The text inside the monster manual is foreign to anyone who finds it, and even magic spells like the comprehend languages are unable to translate it. That's pretty rough. However, once a creature is attuned to it, they are able to understand small passages, gaining various abilities from the text. An attuned creature gains the following benefits. There are quite a few. The first one is you gain proficiency in Arcana, History, Nature, and Religion as long as you remain attuned, and any checks made to gain information about monsters are made at advantage.
Wait, I read about this.
There's something, I think it's on page 386. It's right here. Bonus number 2. You may spend a bonus action to instantly determine whether any creature you can see currently has resistance, immunity, or vulnerability to any damage types or conditions.
That's so meta.
That's so good.
It very much is.
I love it. Point number 3. Once per round, when a creature you see uses a legendary action or a legendary resistance, you may spend your reaction to negate it. Wow.
That's awesome.
The legendary action or resistance is still spent, but no effect occurs. Holy
That's cool.
cow.
I like that.
That is cool, though. I do because you have knowledge of it, right? So it makes sense.
The dragon goes to like hit you with its like wing, and you just give him the finger. Not today, bitch.
No.
It's not in the book, you said.
You white it out in the book page.
And the dragon like looks at its wings, it looks at the ground, it looks back at its wings, and it's like,
What just happened?
And then point number 4, as an action, you may cast Dominate Monster, DC 18, as per the spell. Once this ability has been used, it cannot be used again until the following dawn.
I like it.
It's some pretty good stuff.
Okay. I wrote you into existence, creature. You better do what I say.
I like how I like the flavor text so much
Yeah.
that was with this. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
It's great.
This stems from when I first started playing D&D. I have an old friend named Chris that taught me a lot of what I know about D&D. And there was one time at the table I mentioned like, oh man, what if the characters had a monster manual and they could just look up whatever? And he was like, dude, no, that would be an epic level artifact. And so I was thinking about that, and I was like, what if it was an epic level artifact? What are some things you could do with it? And I specifically wanted the legendary action thing to be part of that, metagame knowledge or whatever. Because as far as I know, there are no rules in the game about interacting with legendary actions.
I think you're right. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Volo's Guide to Monsters is written in this format. It's written by a guy who's traveling the world, I think, and collecting the knowledge. So if you read in like the corners and stuff, it's first-hand accounts and stuff.
Right.
And I think Tasha's the new Tasha book that's coming out is going to be in the same vein.
So is Xanathar's, for that matter.
Yeah, Xanathar's written from Xanathar's
yeah.
perspective. Him and his stupid goldfish.
Except this one was just created by the guys who created the game. So you know.
The great wizards of the coast.
And it is one of 3 books, so someone else could create someone could
The other
make a
2?
stat
Yeah,
block for the other 2
The
books.
legendary
player's
Dungeon
handbook.
Master's Guide, quite literally.
Or you break plot points and stuff. You find the player's handbook, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make myself a level 20 paladin, but I'm also a level 20 warlock right now.
So listeners, that's up to you.
Yeah, this is us spitballing. Do not take it as a thing we have on the show.
The player's handbook lets you create minions at will.
Oh man, that's awesome. You, hero, 14th levels into fighter and 6 into paladin, shall follow me and do as I say, for I have access to all the knowledge, because knowledge is power. I'm just a commoner, but knowledge is power.
I can see it being like a magic item that lets you use like any feat, spell, ability, skill in the book like once per day. You can just
Temporarily.
pick and choose one of them,
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Like when the Avatar harnesses his ancient knowledge of all of his other avatars, and he
Sure, yeah,
instantly, for a short time, has access to all this stuff. That's cool. I like that. All right, we're getting
That would be wild. That'd be
we're
cool, though.
chasing this conversation. I think
Oh,
you did a
yeah.
really great job here,
Yeah.
Gabe. It's very
Thank you very
fun.
much.
All right.
Obviously inspiring.
Our dungeon master tip for the day: pass out fake notes.
I like this.
Imagine yourself sitting at the gaming table, and as the player fails a wisdom save, the DM doesn't say what happens as a result. Instead, they hand the player a secret note. Immediately, you're going to be suspicious of anything and everything that player does, even if you're not trying to metagame. As a dungeon master, you can use this to your advantage in a fun, harmless way. Periodically pass out a note to a player, maybe after a failed save, after a successful perception check, or maybe just out of the blue. Make it clear that the players are not to share the contents of these notes with others, either by telling the group beforehand or just write, keep this a secret on the notes. Man, this is on the same level as like randomly rolling dice behind your DM screen for no reason.
It's way worse.
Absolutely.
But on the note you passed out, instead of some sort of secret knowledge, it just simply tells the player, act suspicious. Or, you don't see anything out of the ordinary. Or, you're doing a great job.
I love that last one.
The intention is to get the rest of the players on edge, thinking that something is wrong, which can lead to reckless behavior and unnecessary metagaming. A bit of a mind games never hurt anyone, right?
I love the dart your eyes between all the players nervously.
Yeah, act suspicious. I just look over to like one of my players. I look at Matt, and I stare at him
You
for
st-
like a solid 10 seconds. He's like, "What?" And then I go back to playing as normal.
Now, Jeff, there was a time that I did this with you, right?
Yeah.
Please tell
I
us.
can't remember exactly what the note said, but I think it was just like, I think you just said laugh at this or something.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, like it was like you handed me a note that said laugh, and I just like giggled and they're like, what did it say? And then I crumpled it up and ate it.
No one will ever
That
know.
was all him.
Yep.
The note: stare at the other player for 10 seconds. As
Was
a
that the
glare.
same campaign where I was
love it.
where I had a doppelganger?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, dude, you could totally leverage that if you replace the character with a doppelganger because they were out sneaking around or the character was out watching or scouting and they get surprised by a doppelganger and replace and just send them a message. I need you to act suspicious for the rest of this campaign.
Yeah.
And they may not even know that they've been replaced. But you've got the player involved in it in a way that even they don't know. Oh, man, this is evil.
That's good.
I like that a lot. That's a
Gabe-
little tough to
Gabe,
pull off,
This is
but that's pretty good.
this was probably bar none one of my favorite DM tips. Gonna be honest.
You always
Good.
gotta. I mean,
Take
it's
notes.
like when Brandon was DMing, he occasionally sent me messages over Messenger. I bet
Yeah.
you guys never knew that.
I did know that, but I don't think that has the same impact
Yeah.
because the players don't see it.
True.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the best example I can think of something like this was when I was running that level 20 battle royale.
Oh, motherfucker.
Sure, yeah.
I think I was on your show and I talked about how I got shafted with that.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
I know
horrible.
about it. That's pretty good.
It sucked.
I'm a little out of the loop.
Part of me was like, I don't feel like I should allow this, but we are level 20. I'll allow it.
Basically, Brandon tricked me into thinking I was alone, and then when I turned my back, he stabbed my character and won. It was not. I was pissed, and he worked with him to do it. I'm still disgruntled about that, but it was well played. Basically, we were in a battle arena, and I thought the
Yeah.
only person left was my deity that I was talking to. But it was
Who
like,
was your patron
well,
for the
yeah.
for the battle royale?
except it wasn't. It was
Brandon
Brandon in a
sitting in a
facade,
using a disguise.
and
Oh my god.
I turned around to walk away after I claimed my prize, and I got shot in the ass, and
He
it
bet-
killed me.
Yeah, Brandon was a rogue who then used backstab.
Prick. Anyways,
It's a lot of damage.
so I love this. I think this is a great Dungeon Master tip. Thank you so
you.
much. That'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip of the podcast. Our player tip of the podcast is
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
nice try. I appreciate it.
Sorry.
That's okay. So, you can avoid dickitude by studying our arcane teachings. Now, I changed it from martial training and arcane training to just arcane teachings because I got tired of trying to remember that I was doing that. So just one just makes it easy for my stupid ass.
Also, another way you can don't be a dick. Don't metagame in a way that hinders the game.
That's really good. Why don't you put that as a show note next time and we'll add it.
Now, just saying because those are today's topic.
Yeah. We're good.
Yeah.
So, a very good meal. One of the most powerful healing combinations in the game can be done as early as level 1. Using the metagame knowledge, choosing the Life Domain Cleric to gain the Disciple of Life feature allows you to add add 2 plus the spell's healing level in hit points that it restores. God, I really slaughtered that.
Yep.
Good Berry, for instance, a first level spell, allows you to create 10 magical berries that are broken as hell that can be eaten as an action and restore 1 hit point. Now, combining it with these 2 features, they each restore 30 hit points. That means at level 1, you can conjure up 40 hit points worth of juicy berry goodness. Now, how many hit points does the average character have at level 1?
About
10.
10.
It's got to be like 30 or something, right? 30 or
No.
40,
No, yeah.
level
Maybe he's
1?
right, actually.
right?
No, yeah, he has to be right. He's on something.
I mean, if the spell lets you do that, yeah, it's got to be something.
No,
like
yeah.
that.
See? We're right.
I'm confused.
He's screwing with you.
I don't like this.
How
don't
are
like
you the
not being
guy
a-
who does like all the jokes on the show, but the minute me and
Because
Gabe over
my
here
jokes
doing
are
like,
funny and yours aren't. Duh. That's clearly the only answer.
I think you just rolled way too low on perception.
You mean insight? No.
My wife truly believes that I have high intelligence but very low wisdom.
You know, she
not
might
wrong.
be onto something.
So,
Oh,
this can actually be done a few different ways. Specifically, the most easy would be the magic initiate feat. If you can get that, you can pick up your choice of some cantrips and pick up the berry spell as a free. Doesn't consume any spell slots or anything.
Yeah.
That
That's a
does
good feat.
that does require the human variant. Or likewise, you can multi-class and get access to that stuff if you want. This to me is very powerful and very broken. Like I said, a fighter usually has about 12 hit points. I think a barbarian maybe 14 at level 1. So the fact that you can restore up to 40 is just mind-boggling. What do you guys think
It
about
just
that?
takes like 7 minutes.
7 minutes. Yeah, because
Well,
you gotta
yeah,
pop.
that's the big thing of it though. Is it's like you're not doing 40 hit points all at once.
Right, it's 3 at a time.
Because what is one berry? One berry is what, 4 hit points?
3.
Right.
Three?
Oh,
Yeah,
3 or 4. It's 2
3 or
plus
4.
level. Yeah, it's 4. You're right. It's 4.
Oh, was it 4?
Because it starts as 1, and then it's 2 plus the spell level, which is 3. So it is actually 4. So I'm gonna fix that.
Thought you did put him.
So you know it's
It says 3 here.
It says 3.
Oh.
This is 10 to 40 hit points.
The next line.
Anyways,
yeah.
your point.
anyway. Yeah. Anyway, it's 4 hit points as an action.
Mhm.
It's
Like
a
6
healing
seconds.
spell is gonna heal you like a healing or cure or what is it? Healing word is 1d4 plus your
Spellcasting
yes,
modifier. Yep.
Healing.
Healing word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So, I
bonus
mean,
action.
like,
Cure wounds is like what, 2d4?
So what you're
No.
saying is that compared to regular spells, it's not very much. Is that what you're saying?
it's like this the amount of healing isn't going to be much different than just casting a normal healing spell. The thing that it is taking advantage is like there's 10 of them. Like you can do it.
Mhm.
You're
Yeah.
basically giving yourself 10 extra slots of
Spells.
I think
the
it's
spell,
better for.
but it's also something that somebody has to, like, another character has to administer to themselves, or you can force feed it to somebody.
If they're unconscious, yeah, you can force feed them.
Yeah.
But I would just pass
It's
them out
still
like
all about
potions.
action economy, and that is really like the most precious resource in
Yeah.
combat.
Although rebuttal at low levels, it could save you from spending hit dice during a short rest.
That's true. That's honestly one of the things that I would think about, because while in combat directly, it's probably not as effective as, say, a healing potion. Though I would argue it might even be more, because that's what, 1d4 or 2d4.
Plus, yeah.
2d4 plus 2.
So you possibly could. This restores 4 reliably versus maybe I'll get 4.
At
least 4.
lowest
Yeah,
4.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, the thing is that it saves.
But this is at
precious
level 1, and that's
spell
kind of the
slots.
idea.
Yeah, it restores precious. It saves precious spell slots and hit dice. And
Yeah.
since if you use them outside of combat, you can just pop them one after the other, which is nice.
Right. I'll personally say I don't like this. I view it the same way that I view the spell Healing Spirit or
That's
Spirit of
broken.
Healing or
I hate
whatever it
that
is.
thing.
And I just feel like I guarantee they did not have the Disciple of Life ability in mind when they were making Goodberry.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
Whether it's going to break your game, it's probably not. You know, I'm not saying I wouldn't. If I showed up at somebody's game and they allowed this, I'm not going to be like, you're wrong. You should, you're a bad person or whatever. Just personally, if I found out that one of my players wanted to do this, I would probably sit down with the group and talk about whether to allow it and go from there. I'm not a fan of it myself. That being said, it is in the game. It's in the rules.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, the way I see it, though,
I can't fault anybody for doing it.
yeah, don't punish anybody for being smart.
Yeah. I think it's
I just think
a
it's
clever build.
it was an oversight
Yeah.
personally. Was my view.
But, well, it's also worth mentioning, though, that the creators, I think they did admit that they didn't take multi-classing into mind when building the various class features, so...
Yeah, but multi-classing is rough too. Like, you can gain a lot of versatility from it. Like, this specifically requires, to get it at level 1, requires a feat. Otherwise, you're either going to have to multi-class several levels, or you're not going to be able to get it to level 4. So, that being said, the oversight seems more in line with the fact that there's a feat that lets you achieve it versus anything else. But that would be through the variant. But anyways, I think it's a great combination, and I
Certainly powerful.
recommend
Yeah.
showing up to Gabe's game with it.
Yep.
No, I just
Definitely.
mean like if the DM allows it, use the heck out of it. This is a very powerful combination. It's going to be super useful, super great. I just personally, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, but that's just me. I'm a curmudgeon when it
That's
comes
that
to
RC
things
Cola,
like that.
dude.
I got it.
Oh man.
Alrighty, I think that'll do it for our
Yeah.
player tip of the podcast.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
It's so cute he tries. We appreciate that. And you can avoid dickitude by showing up to Gabe's with a very good meal. All right. Before we close out here, do you guys want to give yourself a plug? Tell people where they can find you. Maybe a little splooge, a little,
Oh, boy.
a little something about your show.
Sure. So our podcast is called Interparty Conflict. We are a Q&A based tabletop gaming advice podcast. So listeners submit questions for us to discuss about how to get the most out of your game. And I'll say that a
We're
few months
family
ago,
friendly.
yes, we
Yeah,
are
we're
family friendly. So a few months ago, I put out a 6-part actual play that we did last year that Justin was a part of.
I love that.
So you can go check that out. It was called At the Gaming Table. It's part of our normal feed. It came out in April, I think. So go check that out. Also, we Justin, I don't even know if you're aware of this. We just put out a bonus episode on our Patreon it was me going through all of the notes that I had for that campaign that didn't get used. So if you enjoyed playing in that or listening to that, go check out that episode and you'll see what other stuff might have happened in the future.
All I remember is you calling and telling me, "Do you mind if I retcon some stuff?" I remember
Yeah.
that. I was like, "What? Did we play it wrong?"
No, I went over that in our bonus episode. If we had continued it, there were some things I was going to change about how we ended the first session, but we ended up not getting that far. So
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Go check it out. Our podcast, you can find it on SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever. Interparty Conflict.
Yes,
Heck yeah.
I really love your guys' show. Like I said, I always preach it, not just because you're part of the Crit Nation, but because you actually have really, really great content. I remember the day I stumbled across your show. I was on my headset, and I was mowing the yard, and a random show showed up after another one ended, and it was yours. And I don't even know how that happened. I was listening to like Google Play or something. And I was like, "Oh, what the hell is this shit?" And I couldn't get it in my pocket. I was like, "All right, whatever. I'll get off and change it when I get in there, to get more oil or gas." And I was by like 5 minutes in, I was like, "Oh, this isn't bad. I like this. These guys are kind of funny. Oh, that's interesting. You know what?" It made me think. And then like next thing I know, I was weed whacking with it too. I'm like, "This is interesting." The next thing I knew,
I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear Stockholm Syndrome set in nicely.
We got him.
But I loved it. It was great.
Well, thank you.
Jeff, do you have anything to add?
I'm on the show, and sometimes I say things that are interesting.
Yeah.
And
I would say most of the time.
I was gonna say,
things
is
that-
it really just sometimes, or is it a lot of the time?
I feel like I fit in the same boat as him right now. It's like, sometimes I say cool stuff.
Yeah, it all works out.
Right.
Well,
all right, no, yeah, I'll say, yeah. Gabe puts a lot of great work into it, and I show up and talk.
That's me. Yeah.
both of these guys, so I understand that.
That's funny.
All right. Well, that'll do it for our show today. Please join us on our next episode. We'll be discussing Eyes Unclouded, an anthology adventure based off the classic Japanese anime, such as Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away, and adventures based on a lot of those.
I actually just watched Howl's Moving Castle for the first time not too long ago.
What did you think?
It was very cool. It was very cute, very interesting. There was a lot of I was very confused about a lot of things, but I was just like, you know what?
That's fair.
It's a piece of art. I understand. I get that it's like, and I watched the dub version, so I'm not sure if there was just stuff lost
No,
in
just like
translation.
a translation issue.
They're always lost in everything's lost in translation.
Yeah, so I'm just like that. None of this makes. Well,
Yeah.
you know, it's pretty and it's fun. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna let it slide. So
Yeah.
So I'm personally really excited to read through this. We don't cover a lot of adventures because I feel like there's other content out there that I would rather cover, but this was something that personally appealed to me because I love those old style anime. I grew up on those. God, I'm old. Because that shit was made in like the 80s, 90s. Oh man.
Yeah, it's like 90s.
You even stuck in a skill check one time from Yu Yu Hakusho.
I do love Yu.
Yu Yu Hakusho was really good.
Yeah, that is some dope ass shit. Today, it is still awesome as hell. The fights are more than just moving backgrounds with barrages of lines that represent punches. Though that did start to happen in like the final season.
I was like,
But the first few, it's actual martial arts and shit. Anyways, so
Yeah.
that'll do. That's your
Cool. If you have any feedback, other tips and tricks, or topics you'd like us to discuss, please send them to us. You can email them to us at critacademy@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Facebook at critacademy.
We hope you enjoyed your experience here at Crit Academy. If you did, you can help others find the show by leaving a, hopefully, 5-star review on iTunes or your platform of choice. Or just send us a message telling us how much you enjoy the show. And also, be sure to give us a like and a share.
Yes, please do that. Comments, likes, shares, all that stuff helps extend our reach to the stars above. I'm Justin.
I'm James.
I'm Gabe.
I love it. He got it. Cool points. Make sure to subscribe to our show at Did you already read that? No, you didn't. Make sure to subscribe to our show at critacademy.com. Follow us on Twitch. Head on over to YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need to get to that 1,000 mark. We're about halfway there.
Oh.
Yeah, we're halfway. Anyway.
We're at like 20.
It's so hard. I don't know how people get their...
Luck.
Yeah.
Luck is probably a part of it. That stupid equation bullshit and algorithms. Anyways, definitely follow us there so we can help you on future adventures. Also, sign up at our website, like I said, and you'll be entered to win cool prizes each and every single week. We give away fat loot. We make it rain, bitches! Also, make sure to check out our fellowship members. If you haven't already heard, one of my favorite podcasts is Inter-Party Conflict with these two guys, so make sure you check them out. Also, check out the Game Master Stash Facebook group. Every single few minutes, they're posting shit from characters to monsters to crazy, weird shit.
I love how we went from, it's like every week, it's like every day, it's like every hour, now it's every minute.
It's because it is. Like, the more I like stuff on there, the more it shows up in my feed, and I realize they're, like, very close together.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe hours, but still, it's a lot in a day. Anyways.
I just like the progression we went down. It's like
it's
every week we come back and it's like it's an even lower time frame.
It's because I found out
30 every second.
the more I
it's
like
just
it, the more
insane.
shit that shows up in my feed.
Yeah.
I am your host, Justin.
And I'm your guest, Gabe.
I'm your other guest, Jeff.
I'm your co-host Austin.
And I'm your
What?
I'm your other co-host, Ian.
Hey, Gabe, do you want to close us
Yeah.
out?
Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes.
Dun, dun, dun.